Reconciliation Day celebrations are continuing across the country. The holiday is intended to foster national unity after the fall of apartheid. Now, a reporter, Masego Rahlaga, is checking out the scene in Maboneng, here in Johannesburg. Now, you'll remember that she started the day off in the iconic Vilakazi Street in Soweto and has now made her way to what's become a very, very popular destination for both locals and tourists alike. What's the mood like in Maboneng today, Masego?
Good afternoon, Marcel. You know, every time I think of a place like Maboneng, I remember this saying that our parents used to say. They'd say Gauteng Maboneng, which means Gauteng, the place of light. And that is what, I assume the people who actually created this precinct and had all these exhibitions that happen here is a place for young and old people of all races in South Africa and in Africa to actually embrace each other and to share their artistic talents. And that's what we find here today: beading, clothing, anything. You can find anything clothing-wise. Restaurants, for instance, you can find Italian food, Indian food, whatever traditional African food you can find here in Maboneng. But I do have, Marcel, with me some young South Africans that I just asked to give me a little bit of their time. Sister, can you just tell me, first of all, what does the name reconciliation mean to you as a young South African?
Reconciliation for me, a value of forgiveness and a value of living an old era and stepping into a new era. Yes.
And, Marcel, I said to her, she told me actually earlier that she would be answering me in her language of Chitsonga. And I said to her, that's fine. That's why we are African and that's why we are South African. We have 11 official languages. And I told her she can express herself in whatever language that she wanted. And what she was saying there is, for her, reconciliation means forgiveness and just, being patient with each other. But I'll go to this lovely couple here that also said they would give me a bit of their time. Reconciliation, a place like Johannesburg where back in the day our parents could not just pitch here and walk willy-nilly like we are. When you think the term reconciliation, what comes to your mind as a South African?
Well, for me as a young person, it just means to forget the past and what has happened and really remembering what we have gone through. But again, to take it from a family setup is to forgive one another as a family members. And if I could even put it in a national context, I could say that is to really try to overcome the challenges that we are having. As youth, we are finding ourselves in a very situation where we are unemployed, and even inequality is one of the biggest problems. So if definitely our leadership can hear the call to say, let us reconcile in a position where everyone is happy, then that will be a true reconciliation for me.
Well, he did agree to speak to us, but she actually told me, Marcel, before we went on, that she's too shy to go on TV. So she just decided that she'll just stand by him and listen to what he's saying. But like they're saying here today, Marcel, it's about being patient, forgiveness, and making sure that inequality is actually eradicated in this country.
Now, I must admit, whenever I visit Maboneng, it is a true reflection of all of the thoughts brought by the people you've just interviewed. And by an extension, also not just reconciliation amongst South Africans from all walks of life who visit that part of Johannesburg, especially on weekends, but also from the continent. I was very excited to see a few months ago when I visited Maboneng quite a few Ethiopian-themed restaurants and brothers and sisters from across the continent making their business and lives in Maboneng as well.
That's right, Marcel. I mean, when you come to a place like Maboneng, that's what you expect to find, people expressing themselves with clothing, with their hairstyles, for instance, Marcel. People expressing themselves by putting beads, colored beads on their hairstyles, something as simple as that. You find people really free in the Maboneng precinct where, previously there were a lot of races, Marcel, that could not, just walk freely here, like I said, to the person that we spoke to earlier. But I'm just going to give you, I'm just going to go around and just show you. I'm going to ask my colleague Linge to just come around with me and pan this way, just to show, the activities that are happening here in Maboneng. You have a lot of cars here, Marcel. People came here in large numbers. It is December. It's time for holidaying. A lot of people are off work, off school. So, of course, they'd come to a place like Maboneng. Also, tourists also wanting to see the setting of the Johannesburg Johannesburg CBD. I mean, this is actually quite a nicely governed place in the Johannesburg CBD. You find a lot of inequality in this very city. You find people living in the streets, for instance, Marcel, and then you find the people who can afford to enjoy themselves on this side of the precinct. And Marcel, young and old, black and white, whoever you will find here in Maboneng.
That's our reporter Masego Rahlaga coming to us live from Maboneng.